Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Hey coach, I wonder if you think it's fine for novices to do front squats for extra lower body volume, squat assistance, and if they would benefit. Also, can novices run upper lower 4 times a week and benefit? I am thinking that it also gives more room for weak point training, for example, back extensions for a weak low back, which I felt I've had honest thoughts. I don't have a problem with novices on a structured upper lower 4 day a week. I think you probably would ideally, if you're a true novice, full body 3 day a week, I think it's still better. But here's the sort of problems we run into, and this is exactly the sort of stuff novice lifters come up with. Why would you do front squats? Like extra lower body volume? Front squats are not a particularly great quad accessory. All right, I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. Front squats, realistically, with the invention of the safety squat bar, I don't think anyone other than Olympic lifters need to do front squats. Why would you? Front squats are there to build your thoracic spine, right? For people who have mid-back weaknesses on their squats, the front squat's a great exercise. It is not as good of a leg exercise, okay? You cannot build as good of legs off of a front squat as you can off of back squats, box squats, things like that. That really shouldn't be subject to debate. It's for people with a weak mid-back, that part of your rectors and everything, right? It's also extremely valuable for Olympic lifters, for weight lifters, because they have to catch things in the front squat position in the full clean. Okay, it's a supplemental lift for the clean. It's not a supplemental lift for your legs. And that comes as a surprise to a lot of people. Same thing. Well, if you just got a low back weakness, you can do extra low back at the end of every workout. Okay, this is really not an issue. And this is exactly the problem. Novice lifters oftentimes don't understand how to identify a weak link. They actually think a front squat might fix their leg imbalances, right? I got weak quads, I got weak legs, I'll do front squats. The last thing you need to be doing. Fine, you want to do some barbell step-ups or a one-leg exercise or whatever for your quads. Okay, that makes sense, but a front squat doesn't. Just look at the biomechanics of it. Some extra low back work, do some extra low back work. It can be done off of a simple full body. Now, that being said, for people who need more individual volume per session to disrupt homeostasis, the upper lower does make sense for novices. I have novices on upper lower who are late novices, not early novices. I think upper lower on a proper structured program, 4 day a week, works very well for late novices. Okay, late novices. I wouldn't put an early novice on it. Even if I was going to mess with some conjugate type stuff, I could still work a early novice on a pretty much a full body 3 day a week. Even if I wanted to take them into this system. Because they don't have that high of a training volume to disrupt homeostasis per body part. They don't need to separate it up into twice a week. It'd be fine with 3. And throw in a little bit of supplemental work if they want it. I'm not saying it's wrong with what you're saying, but I mean, obviously the exercise selection already tells me that you're kind of going in the wrong direction for an early novice, not understanding how weak points really work or how to train them. So again, it's going to be dependent upon what's going on with the individual lifter. A late novice, I'd say an upper lower is fine, but it needs to be properly structured. Don't use it as an excuse just to do more curls. Squatting with both bands and chains at the same time. Example, squatting with both of them on the bar. What are your thoughts? I saw a guy do it. I guess that would be context dependent. Is it something I would regularly prescribe to anybody? No. No. Couple things I can think of why a person might do it. Number one, just to do something cool. Okay, that's fine. You know what, if you're doing max effort lifts and you just need another lift in your rotation and you don't want to swap around band and chain weight a bunch and you don't want to use 3 different bands or 3 different chains and you just want to combine the 2 to count it as a separate conjugate lift, that's fine. Because honestly, on conjugate, if you don't have a system in place for why you're doing each max effort lift, you can create random exercises and just pull them out of a hat and it will actually work. So, I don't know, 70 pounds of band plus 70 pounds of chains on a box squat. That's fine. That would be its own exercise. Is there a real benefit or reason to do it? Probably not, because if we're going to run speed work, for example, waves of bands and chains, why do we need to create a third wave for combination? So it comes over to asking, what are you doing with bands and chains? Well, we do chains purely for contrast weight. We do bands to create contrast weight that has an overspeed eccentric effect and a different strength curve. You kind of see where I'm about to go with this? We want to change the strength curve and you want to maximize that overspeed effect, just run more band. Just run more band. Okay? There's your solution. Now, what do I suspect probably happened? I think this is a person most likely who you saw do it, who saw someone else do it because they ran out of chain weight. You might have had someone in your gym who maybe you only have 80 pounds of chains in the gym, and he wanted to get, say, 130 pounds of contrast weight, and he didn't have enough chains to do it, so he threw a 50-pound band over it also. Because, I mean, chains have structural limits. There's only so much chains you can have laying around. Not everybody has 125, 130 pounds of chains laying around like I do. I bought those specifically. A lot of strength even gyms don't have that, even if they have chains. So maybe he just needed more accommodation, and he did that. Okay, that's what he did. Because honestly, if you're mixing the two together, you're very heavily de-emphasizing the band tension. Because the band, it's really about the fact that you're creating large amounts of band tension to get that effect. That would be massively de-emphasized if you're mixing them. So I suspect it's just a case of someone needing more accommodation and they just didn't have enough chain to reach what they were trying to do. But as far as prescribing it, no, it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want more accommodation, add more chain. If you want the larger stretch reflex and the overspeed eccentric, you need more band. Right? They're kind of a different beast. So I think it's a combination of someone just didn't have enough equipment to do what they wanted to do. And that makes sense. I would think that's largely the case. And then maybe they saw someone else do it at the gym, and the person you saw someone else do it didn't understand why they did it, and it's monkey see, monkey do. Just to do it, bro. Always think through why you do these things, though. But, it could have just been another conjugate lift, and they needed one more lift in the rotation, and they had bands, they had chains. They said, let me just combine both to create another conjugate lift for my max. And that's fine also. All right, next question. Hey, Coach, what are your thoughts on heavy dumbbell farmer's walks? Would you suggest them as a finishing exercise for full body workouts? Thanks. Finishing exercise? What the hell's a finisher? I always hear people use that term. I'm not really always sure what they mean by a finisher. Is it reasonable for some conditioning? Like, let's say you're doing full body 3 days a week and you can't really get to the gym to do a full Metcon work. Could you do something like that, particularly for a really skinny novice who needs to build more core and work capacity? Could you do some dumbbell farmer's walks at the end of a full body? Sure, I think it's fine. I think it's fine for a little bit of conditioning at the end. I think it's fine for again, a loaded carry. Loaded carries are good, and loaded carries are functional. Loaded carries have a lot of carryover to other stuff. They're not bad to do. They're not bad to do. I think it could be reasonable. I have no issue with it. But what do you mean by a finisher? No, I mean, you don't need to finish. You're just doing some conditioning. Now, realistically, though, we're talking about a novice on a full body, and that might be okay. Once you start to get a little bit more advanced and you're kind of out of the early novice phase, I don't know that I would recommend mixing them at all. Again, skinny novice lifter, if you need to do a little bit of heavy Metcon like that would help with their grip, their core, all that, that's probably okay. A later novice, intermediate lifter, I think you need to separate your conditioning out. Okay? I would ideally like to see them do separate conditioning days. Now, if the only way you can get conditioning in is to get it at the end of your full body, then by all means do so. Because as long as you limit the time of it, it's not going to have any significant negative effect. Okay? That's fine. Doing hard conditioning, though, real Metcon, you need to separate them out into separate sessions, whether it's later in the day or whether it's coming in on separate days is probably wiser. So I guess it depends on what the difference is. Like when you say heavy, heavy's relative. Really heavy conditioning work, I'd like to see a separate session. I'd like to see a separate session. So you didn't really kind of define that. But back over to the point, I'll assume you're talking about an early novice, and by heavy you just mean like some 35-pound dumbbells are heavy for them, right? You know what, if you need to do that after you squat and deadlift and bench and do chins, I think that's perfectly reasonable, particularly if you're the skinny novice and you have a low work capacity and you need to just bring it up. I think it would be okay. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Be fine. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.